All right, good afternoon, good morning, everyone, depending on where you are joining us from. I know we've got some people on the West Coast. We are here East Coast, so welcome everyone. Hope everyone's off to a good new year. I do want to say that my son, I have a 3-year-old son, we are still living COVID times. He is quarantined at home. So if you guys hear him, he is upstairs, but I apologize in advance if you hear any background noise. So we are trying to keep it to a minimum, but thank you all for joining. As you know, we are going to be talking about social media compliance today, specifically influencers and their use of endorsements. I will be presenting this webinar myself. I am Erica Hollar. I have been at McMurray and Shuster for my second stint, close to 2 years now. Interestingly, that was my first job straight out of law school as well. I then left to go work at a large retailer in-house here in Columbus, Ohio. And then the day that the world shut down, I went back to McMurray and Shuster and haven't looked back since. So I'll have my contact information at the end if anyone wants to reach out with any questions or follow up. Just as a reminder, this information is being presented for informational purposes only. We would recommend that you reach out to an attorney to get sound legal advice if you have any questions that arise. And also this will be recorded. The recording will be available on our website in the next day or two, and you guys should get an email when that is available. So here is just high level, the things that we are going to talk about today. The first being the types of endorsements and endorsers. You know, I think things have changed a lot in the past 5 years, and these things change quickly, just like the technology that supports them. When I initially thought of endorsements, you think of the NFL football players or the bloggers, but it is now so much more than that and so different. So we're going to talk about the types of endorsements and endorsers, just so you guys are able to all identify, are these rules even applicable to what I'm doing? Then we'll go into the legal requirements, just very high level for any of you who have had any sort of training in marketing or advertising. Generally speaking, you're probably not going to hear a lot in terms of the law that you have not heard before. But where I hope to bring some practical advice is on the next section, the how to implement the practical 411. We'll go through some examples and that sort of thing. So that is where we are. Again, we will not be doing live questions. So if you guys have any questions as we go through this content, please feel free to reach out via email or phone, whatever is easiest for you. So testimonials and endorsements, what are they? And these are a very, very powerful form of marketing. Many sellers use testimonial advertising as one of the strongest pieces of marketing that they can use. It comes in many different forms. You can have it on Twitter, Facebook walls. More recently, we've seen commercials on TV where they will put content from customers on there. Those are considered testimonials and endorsements. And, as we're going through this, the name of the game, or the thing that we really need to be concerned about, are disclosures. And when I talk to clients, I like to kind of bifurcate what this means for disclosures. First, you've obviously got your legal disclosures. What does the law require? What do state laws require? What does the federal laws require? But then, even I would argue, more importantly than those legal disclosures, what are your customers and your audience expecting to hear? Because, while these testimonials and endorsements can be very powerful and very helpful, if they are not done correctly, they can also be very damning. They can, break trust with your audience, or they can, you can get bad publicity for these, which is, I think, sometimes more damaging for a company than some of the civil penalties or legal fees that can come. So big picture, that's what we're talking about today. So again, the types of endorsements and types of endorsers. Again, I used to just generally think of celebrities or NFL athletes. That was, used to be those were the big ones that came to mind for me. But it's so much more than that. Celebrities, obviously, you've got celebrities like Kim Kardashian or, music stars, any of them that can, Jennifer Aniston, endorse beauty products or whatever it is. Those obviously are endorsers. Athletes, we're going to talk a little bit more about it on the next slide, but we've all known professional athletes, but last July, there were some changes around the NCAA, and now we have to consider college athletes as well, trade organizations. So CREST, if they say this has been approved, or, dentists recommended by the American Dental Association, that can be a type of endorser. Safety boards, professional associations, and one that I think is super, super interesting are product users. And that's where you will see the UGC, or what is commonly known as user-generated content. So again, I said I wanted to talk a little more in depth about two of these categories. So the first is athletes, obviously professional athletes. I think we're all probably pretty familiar that they have been giving testimonials and endorsements of products for, gosh, as long as I can remember. But like I mentioned, starting last July, the NCAA policy changed, whereby college athletes are now allowed to make money off of endorsements, autographs, anything of that, like, so long as it is consistent with state law where the school is located. So we're here in Columbus, Ohio. We obviously have Ohio State. It's a big football town. So we are starting to see, and I think probably as this next fall comes up, we will start to see more and more of this with, whether it be gyms or retail lines or car dealerships, anything. These rules would all apply to those sorts of endorsements if the athlete is being paid or given anything in consideration. The next one that I think is super interesting, like I said, is user-generated content. So what that is I like to think of it as like more grassroots, just your normal day-to-day person using your product and loving it. They're not necessarily getting paid for the product, but there are certain ways and best practices that you should use to go about using that content or those testimonials in your marketing. So first and foremost, you always want to request permission from the individual whose content you are using. This can help with, again, just keeping that brand trust, brand loyalty really solid. And then also it will help shield you from any copyright issues. So where you see a lot of this is on Instagram, where a user may go into a particular retailer store, or, really it could be anywhere, and they show a picture of their home, how they've decorated it with, I don't know, whatever it is, West Elm or Pottery Barn, whatever. And so then the company goes on, they can see because they were tagged and say, oh my gosh, this content it's great. Like, it shows our product. It's, shows who our customer is. And not only that, it's cheap advertising. The brands don't have to generally pay for this content that they used to have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to set up a studio. So it's really effective marketing. But like I said, you want to always request permission, and that can be done as simple through, if you see a post on a Instagram, or a picture on an Instagram post that you are interested in, comment on it. We love your content. Please reply, hashtag whatever, for us to have permission to use it in our marketing channels. And I always recommend, when you are seeking that permission, keep it broad. You don't want to say on our Instagram page or in our email, say marketing channel, because that way you are not limiting yourself and you have the ability to use it on any channel, whether that be web, digital, television, radio, whatever. If they reply, you are getting that permission. And then, another best practice is to always credit the originator or the creditor when you are doing this. So on Instagram, again, a lot of times you will see if it's reposted, photo cred, and then whatever their handle is. That's just always like a good practice to do. So high-level legal requirements, excuse me. Like I said, these rules are not probably things that you have not heard with most marketing laws, though, they are so gray. The challenge becomes how you implement them and what they mean in practice. So just high level, when you look at the FTC Act and it's Section 5 that governs these sorts of advertisements, and specifically the unfair acts and practices marketing laws, you have to have honest opinions, beliefs, and experience from endorsers. So, you can't pay someone to say something that is not true. That's just, it's not good. And then if you are saying that someone uses the product, they must have actually been a user of the product. So, when I think of this requirement, I think of, the shampoo commercials that you see on TV for whatever it is, Pantene Pro V. And you see, let's say Jennifer Aniston, she's got great hair and she is endorsing this product. Is she really a user of this? Well, if we're complying with the FTC's rules, she must have been. So that's another thing. And then the last and probably most important requirement is that connections between the endorser and the seller must be fully disclosed. And not only must they be disclosed, they must be clearly and conspicuously disclosed. And depending on what marketing channel, that can mean different things. So we'll go through some of that as well. So in terms of honest opinions, again, the endorsements need to reflect the honest opinions of the endorser. You cannot convey any express or implied representation that would be deceptive, and you only use the social proof and testimonials of those who have actually engaged in your business. So, big picture, keep it honest. Don't put out marketing that this is the best product where really people don't like it, or I don't know, anything. So I think that's a pretty straightforward one, honest opinions. Again, bona fide purchaser, they have to be an actual user purchaser of the product. They must have already used the product or service that they are giving a testimonial about. They cannot give the testimonial in anticipation of using the product. Now, that's not to say that they can't say that they're excited to try the product, or, there's ways to do it if you are being honest about what you are stating. But if they are conveying to an audience that they have tried this product and they love it, it is their favorite, they must have actually tried it. So, just be honest, keep it truthful. And again, disclosing those connections, the connections must be fully disclosed. I'm going to skip number 2 for now, and then they should be easily understood. So I think those two are pretty straightforward. You don't want to get tricky with your language or anything like that, so that a normal consumer would not understand the disclosure to mean what it is. So the second one that I skipped is that the disclosures have to be clear and conspicuous. I think when we're talking about marketing and advertising, sometimes that can get a little tricky depending on the platform that you are using. So obviously, if you have a web blog where it's assumed that you have an unlimited amount of space, you're not limited by characters, you're not like on a print advertisement where you only have so much real estate. I think that's a little easier. You can fully explain it. You want to put it at the top. You don't want to hide it in a certain font or anything like that. That one's easy. But if we think about Instagram or maybe Twitter, where you're limited to characters, that can be a little more, a little trickier. So, when we're looking at clear and conspicuous, those sorts of things need to be considered in what is clear and conspicuous. So unfortunately, there's not like a one size fits all. It has to be this language, this font size. It's not like that, unfortunately, or fortunately. But in terms of clear and conspicuous, the main things we want to look at are that the disclosure is close, like in physical proximity to the claims that they relate. It's in a font that's easy to read. The shade stands out against the background. If you are doing some sort of video ad or television, the disclosure is on screen long enough that it can be read, noticed, and understood. For audio disclosures, same thing. You want it to be audible, people to be able to understand it. I think we all can think back to those radio disclosures where the person talking is talking a million miles a minute and you don't even know what they're saying. Arguably, that's not clear and conspicuous, but arguably maybe it is. Again, it's a lot of gray area in this area of the law, and you just want your consumers to be able to understand what it is that you are trying to disclose. And the whole the whole premise behind all of this is, if you are, put yourself in a consumer's shoes, if you are looking at an advertisement and you see, for instance, a blogger blogging about resort XYZ in Hawaii, and they have just this glowing review, they love it, that would mean something to you. If you then knew that that blogger, the same review, but you knew that they were being paid $2,000 to make the review as well as a free stay, would that change your the credibility of the blog or what you think of it? My guess is probably so. So the whole reason behind all of this is to be able to give consumers a clear sense of the influence that the marketing has and who it's coming from. So again, like I said, I want to go through, spend some time talking about the practical 411. Where do we really see these? What does it mean? The first one is employee connections. So if an employee of a company posts something that promotes the company or a product on social media, the fact that they are an employee should be disclosed somewhere in that promotional post, even if it is not directly tied to their particular position. And this extends to shareholders and investors as well. If they have any sort of financial interest in the brand or product that they are promoting, that should be disclosed. And one way to, sometimes it can get hard because you have these big companies, there are so many different channels of social media where this stuff can be disseminated. So one thing that is a best practice is for employers to disseminate a social media policy. And I think sometimes when we hear the word policy, you think legal, complicated, but it does not have to be like that. A social media policy can be as simple as outlining how your organization and the employees conduct themselves on social media, specifically including when they are posting about a product or an event or a promotion, anything like that, in connection with their employer. So, and there's ways, get creative with this. There's ways to do it. I work at so-and-so and this is our sale. It doesn't have to be so rigid, but you do want to disclose the fact that you are an employee of a particular brand. So here's an example. This is from Kobe Bryant. He promoted a product that he invested in. And if you can see there, his first tweet at the top was upgrade your sports drink with drink body armor. This is now. Someone says, is this an advertisement? And then he responds, as did I get money to tweet? No, zero, actually invested my own money. So his initial tweet should have given a disclosure that he was promoting a product or a company that he had invested in, even though he wasn't specifically an employee of that body armor. So that is that one. The next one, pictures and endorsements. So, we just saw some words that were considered endorsements. Pictures can also be considered endorsements. One case that really stands out when you're looking at this is in 2015, Lord and Taylor was settled with the FTC for what they had done was they had a campaign to promote their new design lab collection. And in doing so, they gave 50 fashion bloggers a free dress, as well as compensation anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 for these bloggers to simply post a picture of themselves in these dresses. And within a 2-day period, the total influencers post reached 1.4 million users, Instagram users only, in this campaign in just over 2 days. And it led to 328,000 brand engagements with Lord & Taylor's own Instagram handle. So, and then ultimately the dress sold out very quickly. So for Lord & Taylor, the marketing was effective. They sold their dresses. But what they did not do is they did not instruct the bloggers that they had partnered with to disclose the fact that, one, they got the free dress, and two, they got the money for posting the picture of being in the dress. So, and I think the other thing that is important to look at with this example is, we see here it reached 11.4 individual Instagram users in 2 days. That's powerful. So this form of marketing, it can be effective. It can work. You can reach many, many consumers, but you just have to make sure that it's done correctly. And here, when you're promoting a campaign, you can do something as simple as using hashtag ad or advertisement promotional campaign. There's no set hashtag or disclosure or words that you need to do, but the idea is to put the viewer or the user on notice that this is some sort of paid advertisement. And again, it can be, we're going to switch to the next slide. It can be any form of compensation. So in that Lord & Taylor example, we saw that not only did they get products, but they also got money. So I think when people are getting paid actual dollars, that's easy, but we can't forget those times when they are getting free product or gift cards or discounts in exchange for their endorsement or review. So here you just see two examples. Disclaimer, I was provided with free product in return for my honest review. And then this is the one on the right is an example from a blog. If you had the whole page, that disclosure would be up at the top, which is good. And the author just disclosed that the blog is presented in partnership with Yogi Tea. So my guess is, without having the actual content of the blog in front of me, that they had some sort of tea that they got. So here's another one that we see: atypical results. If your endorsement describes an atypical result or something that's not common, there must be a disclosure that tells consumers that whatever result it is not typical. The two areas that come to my mind when I think of this are any sort of weight loss advertisement. You see an example there on the right. Kelly lost 55 pounds, results not typical. Well, darn. But you want to make sure that people understand that just because they are purchasing this Nutrisystem plan, product, whatever it is, they may not lose 55 pounds like Kelly. And typically a lot of times what you'll see too is results not typical, but then it'll go on to explain what the typical results are. And I think, from what I've seen with weight loss, I don't know, it's half a pound to a pound a week or something like that. You want to make sure that you are not misleading customers by keeping information from them. And again, it's all about being clear and conspicuous. What you want to just include the disclosure on the page where the atypical endorsement is viewed, so as to make sure that the customer or the consumer sees that it is not a typical result. Another area that I see this a lot is with any sort of income disclosures, whether it be some of those like direct sales companies or something like that. If you see testimonials or advertisements about the amount of money that a person could potentially make in a certain time period, a lot of time there will be disclosures with those as, these are not typical results. So yeah, anytime you're dealing with things that the normal Joe might not experience, you want to make sure that you are disclosing that. The other thing, paid affiliate marketers. So this is where, we've seen a lot of this lately too, where each person or a marketer, an influencer might get their own link and they will get a commission on any of the purchases. So for those of you who, are Instagram users, it used to be the swipe up. There's now the ability to actually put the link in if you have your Instagram stories. Same thing. It has to be disclosed that somewhere that they might be getting a commission from the link where they purchase. So below you see a good example disclosure. Some of the links below are affiliate links, meaning at no additional cost to you, I will earn a commission if you click through and make a purchase. Okay, the last one I want to talk about is sweepstakes. So sometimes you will see that companies offer an entry to a sweepstakes for giving a review. Those sorts of things, while it's not dollars or a product, those things are considered consideration that should be disclosed when companies are soliciting reviews or whatever it is. So here, this is for the Antiques Roadshow 2022 tour. And it says, all you need to do is follow us here, reply to this post with the event you want to attend and tag one friend. So basically they are expanding their reach by giving people the option to enter the sweepstakes to get their tickets there. So it's, with this for that, while it's again, not dollars, it's not a product, it is something that is of value that we should all be aware of. So again, high level, these laws are not things that you have probably not heard. What sometimes is tricky, like with most marketing laws, is how do we implement them? And hopefully these examples have been helpful. I will say, if you take away one thing from this, it is disclose any sort of connection and do it in a clear and conspicuous manner. So there was one other thing that I wanted to mention. It's very timely. So yesterday, the FTC sent out a press release that Fashion Nova is paying $4.2 million to settle allegations that it blocked bad reviews on its website. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go to the FTC's website and read about it. But, just high level things that I want to takeaways from that is $4.2 million. That's a lot of money. So these, while they can seem so innocent, oh, well, gosh, Johnny Smith just posted and I didn't see his content, or, it didn't seem like a big deal. The fines for this can be cumulative and they can be big. So that is something to keep in mind. And the other thing too, that when I read this, the thing that kind of came to my mind is we talked about Lord & Taylor. For those of you who are not familiar with the retailer Lord & Taylor, it is a higher end retailer, expensive brands. Fashion Nova is not. It is extremely, I don't want to say extremely cheap. It is very affordable, fast fashion. So, the products can be super expensive products, or they can be products that are not very affordable. And I think this Fashion Nova example is important because, fast fashion is what's trendy now, and you will read reviews about, these products are good, these products are bad. And if they are blocking reviews, that impacts their, the impression that consumers are getting of them, and it's deceptive. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. So again, if you want to read more about that, that is on the FTC's website. The press release was issued yesterday. So yeah, that's all I had, just right on the dot for time. So thank you guys all for attending. There's my email address and phone number. Please feel free to reach out with any questions, comments. I know this stuff can be tricky, a lot of nuances and gray areas, but would love to help you guys out. So again, the website will be available in the next day or two, or the recording will be available on our website the next day or two. So feel free to share it with any of your colleagues or anyone who was not able to attend. So thanks so much and have a good day.